You are now listening to the Region 10 Report with your host, Susanne Posel from OccupyCorporatism.com, where the alternative media gets their news. This show will expose the elite domination plan, disinfo agents, propaganda, and the UN plan to strip the world of its freedom and the United States of its Constitution. This is the Region 10 Report with Susanne Posel, bringing you the real truth behind the news.
Hi folks, thank you for joining us. You were listening to the Region 10 Report. I'm your host, Susanne Posel, and today I wanted to talk about secession. Everyone is talking about it, and a lot of people have made some interesting comments. Some of the self-proclaimed king alternative media has made some interesting comments about secession, about what we should do, about his plan for our secession, about his plan for how we're going to take our country back, which sounds a lot like the other plans that past dictators or usurpers have tried to convince the populace to go along with. Usually I have my co-host David Posel with me, but today I am joined by a special guest, Susanna Cole. She is the co-host of the Pete Santilli Show, and you can listen to her on the Pete Santilli Show Monday through Friday on RBN at 8 p.m. Pacific Time. You can also go to thepetesantillishow.com and download any of their episodes. I recommend it. They are awesome people. Pete and Susanna are two of my good friends, and I've asked Susanna to come on with me today to talk about some of the comments that Alex Jones made last week about secession. And the reason why I asked Susanna to come on with me was because he made some comments that were very offensive to women. And I know Susanna has some very strong opinions about it, and so do I. So I thought you guys should get the secession perspective from a woman's standpoint. So I'm going to bring Susanna on the line. Susanna, you there?
I'm here. Hi, Susanne. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on your show today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming along.
You're welcome.
Well, right now I'd like the people to listen to the comments that Alex Jones made about secession, about his plans for it. And folks, you're going to hear some disturbing comments directed at women that Alex Jones made. Now, interestingly enough, on his broadcast, he made these comments, and then later on his nightly news show, he made it a point to edit them out. So we're going to go ahead, Susanna, and we're going to listen to these comments, and then I want to just jump right in and talk about how we feel about them.
Okay.
All right, let's listen to him.
Good. Throw me in that briar patch. Let's get it on. Let's start it. Let's have you come in and knock some heads and put army on the streets. Let's get it going here. Not physical. Don't fight them when they do this. Let the redcoats occupy like they did for a decade before it really got going. Let the redcoats come in. Let them rape women. Speak out against it. If you see it happening, you've got a moral duty to defend the woman. But no offensive attacks. No offensive attacks. Let their evil flow.
Well, folks, you heard Alex Jones say it himself. Susanna, what was the most disturbing part about his comments that really got you?
The ones that really got me, or the one that really got me, was when he said, let the women be raped. Let them be raped. Let it happen. And just like they had to when the redcoats came in and did it for 10 years, for a decade. And you know what? I just had to stop it. I had to stop the tape, the recording, and say, what the heck did that man just say? You know?
Right.
And then he went on to say that he felt that the best thing to do would be to turn them in, do whatever.
Document everything.
Document it, acknowledge it, but do not do anything that would, harm the rapist. You know?
He doesn't want us to fight back. He wants us to sit back. He would expect my husband to sit back and let some paramilitarized policemen bust into our house, take our armory, take our food and supplies. Oh, and by the way, rape me and my 2-year-old daughter, and then possibly violate my 6-year-old son. And then after the incident was over, write it all down in his notebook and give it to who?
Yeah, who's left?
Right.
Who's left to give it to? When you have someone who is saying in other spots in that commentary that he's going to be the one to write the new Constitution. He's going to be the one to write up the documents and sign them. He's going to be the one to put Ron Paul into place. Well, if he has already said that it's okay to let the military come in and rape your wife and not do anything about it, then it gives you a pretty good idea of what Alex Jones is willing to do about it afterwards.
Right. Do we think for a minute, now Alex Jones has 2 daughters and a son. Do we think for a minute that he would allow anyone to violate his children?
Well, you know what? Quite honestly, I do believe, and this is my opinion only, and people can take it for what it's worth. But you know what? It's my opinion that Alex Jones is fearless. And the reason he's fearless is because he already has things in place. He already has his position of safety mapped out. You can bet that he does. Alex Jones is a rich man. Most people who listen to him on the radio, they think of him as this good old boy from Texas, and he's just one of us good old boys, But he's not.
Right.
He's a very wealthy man, and you can bet that if he really believes all of this stuff is going to come down, that he has already taken measures to protect his family. He already has. And he's telling everybody else, put your name on that list. Get your name on that list. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to put my own list up there, and I want you to go and sign that one too.
I thought that was interesting because, on your show with Pete, you've been talking a lot about, and I agree with wholeheartedly, and have been part of conversations as well, about what this secession posting on We the People, the grievance website that the Obama administration started, what that actually means. We know that they're making lists. We know through rumors that have not been validated, people that I've heard talking who are credible sources, but they're anonymous, and I can't really vet their information. However, they have indicated to me that there are lists of people that are registered gun owners. There's actually Google Maps. They actually know, and they know that they hit house A, B, and C. Don't hit D and go to E, G, and F, or about the other way around. And they already know who you are. They've got lists upon lists, and they're trying to gauge who's a threat, who's a credible threat, who's just talking out of their butt, who is a registered gun owner, who is a U.S. veteran, who could actually fight back if they were intimidated or forced into aggression. And then so We the People, these secession petitions that were put up, I think you agree with me, and I want you to elaborate on my statement, that this is just another list that they've put us on. And so when Alex Jones says, well, I'm going to start my own list, isn't this kind of already jumping on the train that's already going down the tracks? And isn't this just his way of creating another list of people that may not have taken the We the People petition seriously, but because Alex Jones has said this, now they're going to be on this list, and assuming that most of his listeners are registered gun owners or U.S. veterans or whatnot, wouldn't that be putting them in further danger of the government knowing exactly who they need to take out before they lock everything down?
Yeah, that's right. And Alex Jones, he preaches all the time about, they're spying on your internet and they're spying on your social network. But he also has his own Facebook pages and stuff like that, and his own internet. He's got, what does he have? Planet InfoWars, where you go in and you put all your information. Yeah, I mean, it's a social networking site. People go in there and they write for free. They give him all kinds of information about themselves. And so, I mean, he's just taken it out of the handbook of the global elite. He's doing exactly the same thing that he accuses them of doing. And it's quite invasive. And he gets all of this free information. And it's entertainment for the masses as far as he's concerned. And so, I don't think he really cares about people's safety because, you know what? I mean, after listening to him since 2000, I think it was 2006 or 7, that I seriously started listening to Alex Jones. I've just come to the conclusion, and it's an educated conclusion, that he's strictly entertainment, and he doesn't believe half of what he says. And there are people out there right now that you can check out, that especially Jack Blood. I would encourage everyone listening today to listen to Jack Blood. You can find his YouTube about Alex Jones, and he himself says that Alex Jones is not for real, that he is an entertainer, and what he cares about most is the money and the clicks. And, it's very telling. And so for Alex Jones, for anyone to listen to Alex Jones and say, when he says that it's okay, that it's going to happen, that they're going to come and they're going to rape your family, that's all right because it's happened before, and you need to just stand down and what he says is, let it happen.
Let the evil flow. Let it happen for 10 years before we really kick this thing off.
Yeah, he says, let them come in and rape us and pillage us and put us down for a good 10 years. We got to do it for 10 more years now, people.
But document everything.
Yeah, make sure you get their badge numbers and stuff, so that when Alex Jones and Ron Paul take control of everything, that they'll know exactly who did what horrible crime to us.
Now, I want to go into, because you and I have both been privy to some information about Alex Jones, and we don't have to mention any names. We can just talk about what we know.
Right.
But I want people to understand we're not bashing Alex Jones. We're trying to educate you with this broadcast. He made some statements that he then tried to scrub on his own website.
Yes,
on his YouTube account. Later on, after he made the broadcast, which was live, and he probably said, oh no, I actually said rape women, and told his editing crew to go ahead and scrub that so that when they rebroadcast it on the nightly news, everybody who's got a microwave mentality, can't have it in 30 seconds or less, they forget about it, wouldn't remember what exactly he had said. And so since they put that out on YouTube, then that would become the new statement that he made. But Susanna and I, we both heard his exact statements from the live broadcast that was not edited. So, and we know things about Alex Jones that make these statements even more egregious than they are at a topical level. It's absolutely beyond irresponsible, but that's the only way I can say it. When somebody who speaks to tens of millions of people makes a statement, a blanket statement, that we should not fight for our independence, that we should allow the New World Order to sit down and get comfortable and settle in before we do some sort of documented sneak attack headed by Ron Paul, who is the front man, the mascot of the libertarian movement, that is funded by, and the puppet master who's pulling the strings on it is a gentleman named Peter Thiel, who is a Bilderberg, and he's not just an attendee of the Bilderberg meetings. If the Bilderberg had, let's say, a board of directors, he would be sitting on it. He's a big player.
And some say he is sitting on a board of types, yes.
And he's the founder of PayPal.
Yes.
He made a lot of money betting on our the devaluation of our dollar. And how did he get that information?
How did he get that information?
Now he is supporting Blue Seed, which on OccupyCorporatism.com, you guys can go and read an article about Blue Seed. I recommend that you all learn about this because one of the many tentacles of Agenda 21 includes having floating cities where they would be subject to international law under the UN. Now that sounds like a good deal, except the guys who are running the UN are the same guys who are building these floating cities. So it's kind of like when Bank of America sells you insurance from a company that they own, they're pocketing the money twice. And that's what's happening here. So Blue Seed is these huge ships that they're building, these floating cities that basically don't have to adhere to any laws of any sovereign nation. They're free to do what they want. And yet they can interact with the country that they're next to, out in international waters, and cart people, ferry people back and forth. And Peter Thiel is in charge of all of this. So if Alex Jones is saying that Ron Paul needs to become the mascot of this secession movement and this movement toward independence, then basically what he's saying is this movement that Alex Jones is backing is bought and paid for, designed, and brought to you by the global elite through their puppets, Ron Paul and Alex Jones. What do you think about that, Susanna?
I think you're absolutely right. Because when people go to your article and they read it, and you and I both have looked into Peter Thiel and the Blue Seed thing because it raised our eyebrow immediately. And, very, very few people are talking about this, and especially Alex Jones. It kind of makes you wonder why he's not talking about it, right? But, they also want to have the folks on these ships to be the smartest of the smart. I mean, you have to take tests, and you have to pass all kinds of psychological tests. You have to be, you have to be really, really smart, and you have to be there. You have to be a certain kind of person to get on these ships and to live there. So I mean, it sounds to me a whole lot like what Hitler did. Right? I mean, weed out all the undesirables and then get all of the superhumans together to make this huge think tank, so that people can live in better harmony with one another. But my idea about that is when you get a bunch of super brains together, there's usually no good happens. Usually the guy low on the totem pole suffers for it. That's usually how it works.
Right, exactly. That's what the shoeboxes are for.
That's what they're for.
It's for the biochemical automatons, which is you and me, if we survive. And I'm just going by, their plan. We'll get back to secession in a minute, but their plan is for the biochemical automatons that are left will live in 222 square foot apartments. Since you're not going to be eating or doing any social activity or working in your home, you have no need for anything larger than a glorified prison cell.
That's right. And Peter Thiel is also a transhumanist. He believes that we are going to merge with machines, that the human condition, our physical selves, that is what he's working for. I mean, all you have to do is look into him to see how crazy he is. And,
right.
But that's their idea. They want man to merge with machine and become just this superpower. And, what happens to the people who are left? They become slaves. That's what happens.
Right.
We become slaves to this superhuman race that Mr. Thiel wants to create. I mean, he's a madman. He really is a madman.
So this secession movement, if we play it out like Alex Jones wants, if we go by the Declaration 2.0 that he wants to write with Paul Joseph Watson, and we go by the standards by which he's going to lay out for us, and stand down and allow the gray coats that he's already branded. He says that the mainstream media has branded them the gray coats, but I haven't read anything about that.
I haven't either.
So he's already setting the stage. He's already got the documents. He's already got the head of the snake in place. I thought it was great when he did the little broken snake and how he bastardized the independence movement and the whole idea of the Don't Tread on Me and the broken snake. And so he was telling us that we have to cut off the head. But part of the head that we have to cut off is the disinformation that we have in both sides of the mainstream and the alternative media. There's some good people who work in mainstream media that break away. And we've seen the reporter from CNN.
Yes.
She outed it out and said, I'm not going to be part of this. Ben Swan.
Ben Swan is a great example, yes.
And so we have people that are not, they're in it, but they're not of it. And but we also have people who are in the alternative media who are just as co-opted because, folks, I think it's ridiculously stupid to think that if the Rothschilds are going to fund both sides of every war and every skirmish that goes on throughout the globe, why wouldn't they fund both sides of the information war, correct?
Yeah, and they have. I mean, Alex Jones actually had David Rothschild on his program. How do you get David Rothschild on your program? How does that happen? You know,
and Steve Pachenik. But it's okay because he's safe because he's ex-CFR.
Yes, he's ex.
Right. You don't ever get out of the CFR, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. You're in it for life.
Yeah. You can count on that. You can count on it. And, you know, there's a lot of folks out there who are in the alternative media that actually put all of this stuff together and they created some great networks, you know, that Alex Jones has, you know, I mean, he screwed him over. So they're willing to talk, and they do. They say a lot. They say a lot.
Now, me personally, my relationship to Alex Jones, when I first started, I was just grateful that anybody was reposting my stuff because I just wanted to get the word out. And I was very passionate about what I was writing about. So, you know, like I said, I was very grateful and very humbled, even when Alex Jones sent Aaron Dykes and asked me to be a permanent contributor to his website. And at the time, I didn't know much about the alternative media at all. In fact, I was probably like a lot of people who left the mainstream media and came to alternative media and thought, well, it's alternative, so it must be good. So I'm breaking away from the propaganda and I'm going to the truth. So they've thought of everything. They have a built-in conspiracy to everything that they put forward to us. And I've learned that through watching, being educated further past in the 9/11 truth movement to exposure to Judy Wood's information. That 9/11, as terrible as it was actually the built-in conspiracy theory is Building 7. Building 7 being demolished validates the idea that it was a controlled demolition. And the traces of thermite further validate that it was a controlled demolition, when in actuality they were testing a microwave technology and using these humans inside this building and around in the city surrounding as guinea pigs to see whether or not this would work. Going back to JFK, this was another instance where they shot our president in his face in front of our faces. And because they said, oh, look over here to the left or the right at the grassy knoll, there's a man in there with a gun. Then we all look, and we spend how many years looking and analyzing videotape, looking for that man in the grassy knoll? And I've seen it. I can't see the man in the grassy knoll, but you know what I could see? I could see the driver put his left arm over his right shoulder, turn his head slightly, and as soon as he put his gun there, within half a second, JFK's head goes flying backwards. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So knowing that they have these conspiracy theories built in, and Alex Jones makes these ridiculous ideas about how things should go, and he said that Mitt Romney was going to become president, that he had been told that Mitt Romney was going to become president.
Yes.
And you know, at the time I was still listening to Alex Jones. I believed him.
Mm-hmm.
But what do we know I'm going to let you start off. What do we know about the Alex Jones phenomena that people who are just perusing the internet and are not on the other side? See, ladies and gentlemen, as a radio personality and as a research journalist, I have been lucky enough to speak to a lot of the people that you visit their sites every day, and I have their cell phone numbers in my phone, and I can talk to them whenever I want. And I know them on a personal level that you may not know them on. And so when I find out information about them from people who have worked with them in the past, and then I have other corroborating information from other sources, and I can connect the dots, I start to see that these people are not very good people. And being on the other side of that, the only thing that I can do is to talk about it and to bring it to your attention, because I know these people. You don't. And not to mean that in a bad way, but I can sit down and talk to these people, whereas you can't. And so I have a better grasp of their personality, of their mood, and who they are. Because it's very hard to hide who you are when you're speaking to someone on a personal level. And it's very hard to hide who you are when you speak to someone on a regular basis. Eventually, who you really are comes out. So, Susanne, from people that you've spoken to recently, and that I've spoken to as well, what have you learned about Alex Jones that makes these statements that he's made that we listened to earlier in the broadcast so dangerous?
I've learned that Alex Jones came on the scene not to bring truth, but to bring a show. It's always been about the Alex Jones show. It's always been about him rising up into the echelons of alternative media, because he really did feel that it was going to explode, and he was right. And, at this point, I mean, to hear him say it, he's got 15 million listeners. And if somebody wants to know what that means monetarily, all they have to do is the math. But, I don't know whether that's a correct calculation. I would say he's probably given how he likes to exaggerate things. I would say that it's probably a little less than that, but certainly he has a high number of listeners, which generate a lot of, who generate a lot of income for him. So he's going to tell people what he thinks that they want to hear. And, people have been telling me, in the background, that he came on the scene to be, what he really wanted to do was to be Hollywood. He wanted to go, and he wanted to be an actor. He wanted to be somebody, and I'd say that he's achieved that. He really has achieved it. I mean, he gets FaceTime on Fox News, and he doesn't care, because negative, even though it's negative reporting about him, it's still, they're still reporting about him, right? Right. He's right up there.
He's on RT. He's on a lot of what we consider mainstream alternative media. Mm-hmm. And somehow he shows up there and nobody questions, but he still claims that everybody calls him a tinfoil hat wearer.
No, I think he's got his place. It's well scripted, I think he's well scripted, and from what I am learning, and then after you hear the truth, it's just like you're awakening when you hear the truth, and you go back and you listen to some of the things that our government has said and some of the things that have been done. You just go, oh my God, I can't believe they were doing that right under my nose. I can't believe it. I can't believe I didn't see that the first time around.
Well, that's how I felt. And you and Pete were there with me on this when we saw Mark Dice speak about longevity. Mm-hmm. And we all sat down together on the phone in front of our computers and watched this clip. And immediately, my husband and I started digging into different independent medical journals, websites where you can go and get the actual documents where they test out these chemicals and they test out these metals, and they find out exactly what they do to your body if they are ingested for a certain duration, whether they are cumulative or not. And we were surprised at the metals that Mark Dice mentioned, which was arsenic, mercury, lead, cesium. But when my husband and I did further study, we found fluoride.
I had to put that in there because Jones is going on about the fluoride all the time, and he's got it in a product he endorses.
Exactly. And then my husband and I did further research, and we found out that 95% of the supposed natural minerals, which some say, because it's on the periodic table of elements, that it's natural. Well, like I say, uranium is on the periodic table of elements. I'm not going to pour a glass of it and drink it.
That's right.
And by the way, folks, you will never see anything from that corporation on my website. I'm not endorsing that. And if somebody is backing any products from Longevity, they're probably selling it. Susanna, can you explain the Amway-like period or pyramid, rather, that they sell on?
Yeah, what they do is it's just like Amway. It's a pyramid scheme, and you buy the product, you buy the kit or whatever, and you start selling the product, and you get 10 more people to sell it for you, and those 10 people get it to sell it for them, and it just goes on and on and on. And then the person at the top who started it becomes wealthy, and everybody else makes good money too. So yeah, I mean it's a ripoff. It's an age old scam, and that's what Alex Jones is promoting.
Right, because the more people he gets underneath him, the more money he ends up making. And meanwhile, these people are ingesting radioactive material. Some of the material in Longevity, Tangy Tangerine. By the way, folks, I don't think that we mentioned it. We're actually specifically talking about the Tangy Tangerine product.
Yes.
But in Tangy Tangerine is elements that they use when they're creating nuclear rods for our reactors that we use for electricity. Elements that they use in chemotherapy for animals. Not to mention all the other stuff that they put in, some of the stuff they put in our vaccines that we don't want in our body, that causes autism and causes Alzheimer's. Aluminum causes Alzheimer's. There's a lot of talk in the news about a vaccine for Alzheimer's. If we stopped ingesting in the various forms that we are aluminum, then we would probably see a dramatic drop in the instances of Alzheimer's, because aluminum is cumulative. With the mercury-based preservative thimerosal in our vaccines, a Dutch study showed, this was going back, I think about a year ago, that when they stopped using vaccines that had that mercury-based preservative thimerosal in them, the instances of autism went down dramatically. And when that study was originally published, the CDC altered that study to say that the lack of thimerosal in the vaccines actually caused the instances of autism to rise. So the lead authors of that study had to sue the CDC for altering their study. And this is to the extent that people don't want you to understand that, yes, elements in our world, we are all made of the same thing that our Earth is made of. So everything is natural, yes. But some things are actually detrimental to your survival, even though it's natural to your environment. Mm-hmm. And with Tangy Tangerine, adding these elements to a so-called vitamin supplement, that's what they're marketing it as, right?
Yes, that's what it's marketed as, yes.
So if you're ingesting a natural element just because you're taking a vitamin supplement and just because it's natural, doesn't make it healthy. So when we saw that Alex Jones was hawking this, and essentially in about 20, 30, 40 years, everyone who had bought this canister of Tangy Tangerine at $50 a pop would end up dying of heavy metals poisoning. Mm-hmm. Probably not realizing that they should go back to Alex Jones and that first canister of Tangy Tangerine that they purchased and blame him. but by then he's long gone, right?
That's right. That's how snake oil salesmen work. And Dr. Wallach, that's exactly what he is. That's exactly what he is. And it's just another way to make money. It's marketing. It's, it's just a way for them to make money they'll never be able to spend.
Right.
Just like the global elite,
Right, it's just about acquisition. It's like a 5-year-old.
It is, right.
Kids just want things, right? They don't care that you buy them a toy, it looks good in the package, they get it home, they unwrap it, maybe they play with the box longer they play with the toy, but who cares? Next day, they want a new toy. It's just about acquisition. It's nothing to do with the appreciation of what you have.
That's right.
But knowing this about Alex Jones and taking this back to Secession and what he's hawking this time, which is, in my opinion, extremely dangerous. Now, I have personally caught 2 instances where Alex Jones has put misinformation on his webpage. I've also written articles when I was a contributor to at the Alex Jones InfoWars site, where I had written things, and because I used the word Zionism, or because I talked about Patrick Clausen and Trotskyites, and how deep the communist takeover of our country actually goes, he refused to publish those articles on his website. But these statements that he made on Friday about secession and jumping on this bandwagon and using it as a sensational tool to now propel himself to a larger level of importance, while telling us that we need to be humble and not fight and let them destroy us even farther, even to the point where we allow them to rape our women and children, wives, daughters, girlfriends, anyone who's listening to this. And the reason why I wanted you on the show, Susanne, is because we're both women.
Yes.
If Alex Jones gets his way, you and I are going to be violated.
We are. And, and he just gave a fraction of his disjointed, psychosomatic listener. And not all of them are, but there is a portion that is, and even he has said that. He's just given them the red light. They're thinking, wow, you know what? I can't wait. Yeah, you're right, Alex. Bring this on. Because you just emasculated the American man to the point where I'm going to be able to go in and I'm going to be able to rape their wife and their daughter, and they're not going to do a damn thing about it because you said so.
Right. When all of this happens, let's say, for argument's sake, folks, that the martial law has been declared, and your local police are now the paramilitarized police, and they're locking down your city, your state, your town, your county, and making sure that they know who is there, where everybody is at every moment, and so that they can control the flow of movement and keep some semblance of a normal existence so that people don't go too crazy. But when that happens, there's always... the initial stage would probably be absolute chaos. Now, in the midst of all of that, if your neighbor, some gentleman that you know or you don't know, someone gets it in their mind that, hey, Alex said, hey, when all of this happens and the violence ensues, then let them go ahead and go to the nth degree that they want to go. We'll just document it and keep a record of it. And so I can go out there and I can go to my neighbor and steal their food and rape their women and kill people or do whatever I want. Because who's going to know the difference between what the paramilitarized police are doing and what the nut down the street who has been empowered by Alex Jones is doing? Nobody's going to be able to tell the difference. Mm-hmm. And that's my concern.
And there's something else that Alex Jones did, too. When Sherman was getting ready to march into New Orleans, he sent a message out to the people of New Orleans saying that, and telling the troops that were getting ready to march in that, that when they go in, to treat the women in New Orleans, all the women, like prostitutes, okay? Which basically meant treat them, rape them. Do whatever you want to them, treat them badly. So we know now that, especially in the civil wars that are happening over in Africa, rape is used as a scare tactic. It's used as a weapon of war, because rape or the thought of rape is very scary. It's you know what? It's worse than dying for some people. For most people, your dignity, everything is stripped away. It's all about control. So they use it in war. And I know that Alex knows this because he's a Civil War buff. He knows what Sherman did, and he knows how he used it. He used it as a means to subdue the foe, right? And then the civilians don't have to risk in, the business of battle. And so what happens is when you're faced with rape and you get that message that rape is on its way, the civilian will flee. They leave their land and their property for the troops that are coming in, for the attackers. They abandon everything.
You know what? Let's go ahead and take a break, and when we get back on the other side, I want to discuss the psychology of rape. And so our male listeners and our female listeners who have been fortunate enough not to have gone through that situation can understand what Alex Jones really said. And so we can properly get offended because, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we need to call him out for what he said. And we can't let this stand. But we're going to get back to that on the other side of this break. You're listening to the Region 10 Report, and join us on the other side. Everything that we're saying right now.
They have the ability to, yes.
So when their founding fathers got together in taverns and created the uprising that became the American Revolution, they didn't have that to worry about. When we go into the belly of the beast, and we know how much of a communist Obama is if you actually take a look, and I'm sure everybody listening has, but for those who haven't, this man was trained and raised on communist principles.
Yeah, probably.
So his father, half of his seed?
The visual I just had was amazing. I can't repeat it, but I had a visual there. But yes, you're right. Probably before he was even conceived, the plan for how his life would be, the ideas that would be, planted in his brain, were already thought of and planned out long before he was even born, if we are to believe what we talk about every day. Exactly.
So if there was going to be a movement to break away from our Zionist-controlled government, and globalist, ladies and gentlemen, is a very cowardly way of saying Zionist.
Yes.
So the Zionist-controlled government that has hijacked and taken over through the technocratic bankers, which is one arm, through the multinational corporations, which is another arm, through the food and drug industries, which are two other arms. If we're going to break away as the states independently working together under the blanket known as the United States of America, we don't have to show our support by putting our name on a list so that the government can come and find us, assess our ability to fight back, whether we have guns, whether we're trained by the military, whether we have family members who are trained by the military, whether we live next door to a gentleman who is ex-military who could come next door and train us. We don't have to do that. We can do this independently of ourselves. Secession starts in the home. It does not start on the government websites that they build for us to trap us into giving away our rights and freedoms so that they know which house to raid first.
That's right. And why in the world would you go to a government website knowing everything that you know about the Zionist, and knowing everything that you know about Barack Obama, knowing that it is something his administration put up there for you to go post your grievances? Why would you do it? You know what? I still don't get it. I really don't understand why in the world people would go there.
We see people disappearing right now.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brandon Robb disappeared.
Yes.
Blog Talk Radio host disappeared.
Yes.
And let me say something else. People's websites get hacked. Those are the people that are actually making a difference. Alex Jones' websites have never been hacked. You might want to ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that his office is a couple of blocks down from Stratford. I'm not sure. But I'm just a farmer. I'm just planting seeds. Maybe something will grow. I don't know.
Maybe somebody will get a clue, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But before we end up running out of time, I really want to talk about getting back to the psychology of the rape comment. And so people really understand that, we talk about our rights being violated. We talk about our Constitution being violated in the fact that we're losing our rights and we're losing all of the things that were given to us by our founding fathers. But now Alex Jones is saying your personal body, the body that you live in, that you're in every single day, that you feel that everything happens to it, you are part of, that you can't get away from, let them destroy that as well, and just lay there and take it.
He does, and out of all the mind-numbing stuff that came out of his mouth, like we were talking before, he actually says, "Go in there and get that Constitution off the wall, take it out of the frame, and bring it to me so I can sign it." How
much is he going to sell that on eBay for?
Yes, yeah, I wonder. Yeah, hopefully not very much. Hopefully people are not that damn stupid. But I listened to it and I was kind of amused by it. I was just going, wow, what an arrogant little, twit this guy is. It's unbelievable, and I was just listening along going, oh my gosh, he's just going on and on and on. And then the rape comment came out, he's like, they're coming for you. And what's really wild is that he did it with a preacher's, Southern Bible Belt preacher's voice.
Yeah, like he was Martin Luther King or Jesse Jackson or...
Yeah, and I was like, wow, he is really going for it this time. And then when he said, let them come in, they're coming. And when they do, they're going to rape the women, and you're going to let them. You're going to let them, just like we let the red coats.
Let people know. Report it if you see it, but let people. But don't do anything. We're not going to fight back. What we're going to do is we're going to document everything that they do. Ladies and gentlemen, if your police department, if your municipal court systems are all corrupt, who are you going to take that sheet of paper to?
Yeah, nobody.
Meanwhile, your wife and your daughter were violated.
Yeah, just like they couldn't during the real Civil War. They couldn't. They had no recourse. And history, if you look in history, there's very few documented rapes out of the Civil War, even though through family. And I'm sure a lot of you out there had family that passed the stories down about all of the rape and the atrocities that happened to women and children during that time. But most of it didn't get documented. I think there's like 335 cases that are documented of rape during the Civil War. And, and historians differ. But there are some historians out there, and pretty good ones, who will say they believe it was up into the tens of thousands of women and children that were raped and murdered during that time. And, just like everything else, all the documents were destroyed. So they have no real way of knowing. And women,
history is written by the winners.
Yeah, and women, probably more so. We're a little more empowered nowadays than we were back then, and still 60% of all women who are raped won't report it, even given the laws that protect us now. So back in those days, being raped was terrible. And of course, they went after the black population too. Black population during the Civil War, the black women, they were raped in front of their husbands as a lesson. Rape is a war tactic, and Alex Jones knows that. And he knows that when you start crying rape, that people are going to flee their property and they're going to just give it up because they don't want to be humiliated. Right. Being humiliated and being violated and being sodomized and being raped over and over by God knows how many people is worse than death. It would be to me.
It would be to me. I'm a woman. I can't imagine. I have a small daughter. I can't even begin to speak on that.
And you're supposed to stand back and watch somebody walk in and rape your daughter, and you're supposed to stand down for 10 years and let the evil flow and let it really set in.
No, I can tell you that my husband, if need be, he would die killing the person or the people who were abusing me and our children. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not.
And you know what? I have something to say to Alex Jones. Alex Jones, he just showed he just showed who he really is, and he's a sexist, is what he is. He thinks women are low class, not able to take care of themselves. And you know what? I don't know how he was raised and where he was raised, but where I was raised, I learned how to protect myself and use a gun when I was very young. I knew how to use one. Now that he's successfully emasculated them, now is the time for you women out there who have husbands or boyfriends who are rabid Alex Jones followers to go out and get a handgun, and so that when this stuff goes down, if it goes down like Alex Jones says it does, is going to, and they walk into your house, you don't need your husband or your boyfriend to shoot somebody for you and to protect you. You can do it yourself. If your
husband is going to lose his masculinity, his testosterone levels, because he's been listening to Alex Jones, and like you said, Susanne, become emasculated, then we're going to have to stand up for ourselves. And ladies, this is not the 1800s. This isn't the 1600s. We have rights, and we're used to them. We take care of ourselves, and we've been doing it for decades now. Thank God in the 1920s, it started with our right to vote, and it's been going strong ever since. So women, if this is how Alex Jones is going to emasculate our men, then by all means, like Susanna said, get a gun. If you don't have one, find one.
Find one somehow.
Find one. Right. Join a club. Learn how to shoot that gun. Learn how to take care of yourself. And ladies, just so that you know, in a family household, that should be second line of defense. Your husband should be the first line of defense. You should be the second line of defense. Mm-hmm. So, if your husband's out there shooting up people, you got to be behind him shooting people too. Have his back. Because if that's how it's going to go down, I know a lot of people who are not going to lay there and take it like Alex Jones wants us to. Mm-hmm. And I tell them, we're not going to in our household.
No. And if someone were to walk in on me, and I knew the intention was to do what Alex Jones says is okay to do, then that person's going to die before they get within 2 feet of me, and that's a fact. Mm-hmm.
His nomination for the Bilderberg mascot, Ron Paul, to lead us. Ron Paul couldn't lead his way out of a paper bag in Maine or any of the other states when he had voter fraud, and his own supporters came to him multiple times, not just one or two, several times. Hey, Ron Paul, could you call this out? Because we're out here fighting for you, and you won't even admit that there's been voter fraud. And then he lays down like a beaten dog and says, oh, by the way, my son's endorsing Mitt Romney, and my son's independent, even though we're real close, and he was raised on all my principles, but he's still an independent person. I support him, but I don't agree with him. And and by the way, I forgot to tell you, I'm dropping out of the race, so thanks for all the money you gave me, and I'm going to go. Bye-bye now.
Him and Alex Jones are going to go hide. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to hide their family, and they're going to wait for it all to be over. They're going to stand back and watch it happen. That's exactly what they're going to do, and hope that their money holds out. So when they emerge, they're going to be sitting pretty, and the rest of us are either going to be dead or wish we were.
So, folks, the point that I want everybody to understand, the reason why I brought Susanne Cole on the show is because she was lucky enough to have been raised by two people who figured this out decades ago. And they raised her knowing about the Zionist, knowing about the, to know that this is coming. And it must be amazing to see that, most of the time we think our parents are full of it, but in your case, your parents were absolutely right.
They were right. And, I've watched a lot of this unfold, and, and we've sat back and we've prepared. We quietly prepared. And the one thing we knew that you never ever do is go to a government website and sign a fake petition,
right.
Or, well, it's co-opted. It may not have been fake to start out with. I don't know. But it's definitely
now that Alex
co-opted.
Jones has got it.
Well, what he's going to do is write his own Declaration of Independence or something, and that's what he's going to
one-up it. This Marine and this car wash owner and a couple of other people who started these petitions. It wasn't good enough for Alex. He's going to one-up. He's going to rewrite our freaking Declaration of Independence.
And he's going to sign it first.
With a gentleman, Paul Joseph Watson, who is from England and who actually lives in England right now, who has no idea what it's like to be an American.
Who might I say that he's been fighting with lately, quite publicly, on air. So, it's just a bunch of, it's political posturing. Alex Jones is just using this so that he can generate more clicks, more money, and, nothing is going to come of any of this.
And
nothing is going to come of any of this except for us sitting around listening to a guy say that raping women is okay.
And that's what I want you guys to take away from the show. We're running out of time. And Susanna, I would love to have you back on anytime you want to come back on.
Thank you. And I want to encourage everybody to listen to the Pete Santilli Show. Every single night you guys can catch us on the PeteSantilliShow.com. We have a great chat room there, and it gets, let me tell you, when we start talking about Alex Jones, it starts getting amped up and dangerous feeling sometimes, but, we try to bring you the truth, and right now we believe that the truth about Alex Jones is really important because he has so many people following him, and he makes stupid, irresponsible remarks like the raping of women is going to be okay in his new world order.
Right. And then he scrubs it for the nightly news. The power of editing. Join us next week for the Region 10 Report. Have a good night.